In a previous video, I discussed what made Filthy Frank so great. There's just something incredibly amazing and engaging about the manic behavior of this strange guy who puts raviolis in his shirt pocket. Yeah, I also talked about the amount of respect and adoration I have for somebody like Joji, who I say is definitely a truest form of creator in every sense of the word. But point of the matter is that guy, Joji, is done with this project. He's done with Filthy Frank and he's done with the Omniverse. And a lot of people were really upset about this. People genuinely fell in love with the lore, the characters, the world that was built up around Filthy Frank. A very vast, strange, and nonsensical world indeed, but that looseness to lore is what has allowed people to tell stories that they want to tell. Hell, I've even been proven wrong in that you can actually tell a pretty serious, grounded story using the basis of the Omniverse from Filthy Frank. So today, I want to talk about the creators who are taking up the mantle to really carry and embody the spirit of Filthy Frank in the work that they do. But first, we have to talk about what makes a good and bad adaptation, because I feel like this at its own is kind of at the core of what's going on right now with these Filthy Frank clones. Now, what am I going to use to discuss the good and bad adaptation? Well, let's talk about Batman.
Please, it's Batman!
Ringside table, Batman?
Just looking, thanks. I'll stand at the bar. I shouldn't wish to attract attention.
By far, one of the most iconic roles in TV history is Adam West in Batman. I'm certain some of you, when you think of Batman, the first thing that comes to your head is Adam West. And that's with good reason. This silly portrayal of Batman is absolutely iconic in media. Hell, maybe you've even seen Adam West in Family Guy, where he was a running gag and pretty much just an exaggerated version of the show's Batman. That Adam West Batman iconography is in fact so powerful that I'm pretty certain that there are kids growing up today who have no idea that Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy are a very elaborate and wonderfully funny Batman and Robin joke.
To the chiropractor! Away!
Anyone can become Batman, anyone can play that role or do their interpretation of Batman. But to do exactly what Adam West did, in my opinion, would be a disservice to the wonderful, amazing performance that he put on. Adam West left a legacy when he died. Hell, like I said, Batman is really defined by that still in more comedic media. This doesn't mean you can't do a more serious take on the Caped Crusader or really like a more comedic take, but it has to be your take. You need to have your own unique campy Crusader. It can't just be Adam West but animated this time. The original Filthy Frank in my eyes is a lot like that. And no, Joji's not dead, but that's not really the point of that. That is a piece of internet and YouTube history, and to just do a Blanchard remake of it would really be undercutting the special nature of the original work. This is why a lot of people have issues with American remakes of animes or even Netflix adaptations of famous animated shows. Please see Willem Dafoe Death Note. So this is where we come to what some people have been calling the Netflix Filthy Frank.
Netflix adaptation. Netflix adaptation. Netflix adaptation.
Now, the guy who is doing this interpretation of Frank is really doing a banger job of impersonating him. He is just like Frank in copying his mannerisms, his humor, the lore, the outfit, the look, the scowl, and that's the problem I have. The problem I have is that it's just like Frank. The character of Frank has a lot of frustration and background to it. You know, this is a character that a lot of people have been growing with for a while. As you see this character grow and change, even though it isn't Joji himself, it's become one thing and then become another. It's definitely not a role you can just pick up one day. You know, it's something that you definitely kind of grow into. Now, that period of time of growing well, it's different for each person. Some actors can immediately pick up on a Joker, others are Jared Leto. But he is trying to fill very big shoes, and I hear he's not too fond of criticism, but when you go to fill big shoes, expect people to give big hot takes. Now, do I think he should stop? No, not really. I'm conflicted. The concept of Frank reincarnating makes sense, and it's a really awesome idea narratively, in my opinion. I think it gives you a lot of potential for different Franks to exist. In fact, opens up a whole myriad of different plot lines that you could even take that with. I guess if Filthy Frank is more of this Doctor Who-like idea rather than a character, yeah, that's actually a really great idea, and I really enjoy that. But here's the thing. Each Doctor is still Doctor Who, but each Doctor Who is still that person's performance. Anyone who's watched Doctor Who knows what I mean, is that, like, when you watch Matt Smith be Doctor Who, that's way different than David Tennant or any of the other Doctors. He needs to reinvent this to still be in line and pay homage to Filthy Frank, but it needs to be his own Filthy Frank. It's important to really keep the core themes of Filthy Frank to be a good spiritual successor, and we're gonna look at other ones I think do a better job at keeping those core tenets at the heart of what they do, but that's very important for when you do a Filthy Frank. On the other hand, I think part of me just wants the character retired, and I know a lot of you would share that sentiment as well. This is somebody's very personal work, and you know, to go and just redo it kind of bothers me. You can be Filthy Frank. I think Eli's doing this out of love. He really is. Eli is the guy playing Frank in this incarnation. You know, but if you're gonna be playing Frank, you need to bring new characters to the table, new additions to the universe, and really express the themes and expand on them that were looked at in Filthy Frank. Now, it also looks like that Eli does have a background in film, so he's probably going to at least understand the theory of the things that I'm talking about here, so that's really good. In fact, a lot of the people that are now doing these Filthy Frank spiritual successors, at least the good ones, do seem to have a lot of drive to make something really good. I mean, I hope what I'm saying is constructive and non-combative enough. You know, I really do think Eli's doing this out of love for the character. So, I've done takedowns of YouTubers before, but this is not a takedown. I really do see potential still. Now, let's talk about the other characters in the FCU, or Filthy Cinematic Universe as I am now calling it.
Are you sure this is what I'm looking for?
Now, I'll start with Bald Internet Man, who some of you might recognize. Yes, that's the original Dade. I'd been wanting to talk about Bald Internet Man for a while, but I wanted some of the episodes to come out before I actually said anything. Now, yes, that's the original Dade, but now he's Dave. Or, well, he's still Dade, but like now he's Dave. It's kind of weird. This is like not related, but also kind of related. It's kind of hard to tell if Dade and Dave are the same person or they're different characters, but I'm along for the ride either way. I think that Bald Internet Man is doing the most logical progression for the universe and themes of Filthy Frank. Bald Internet Man is less concerned with being a public nuisance or doing things in a social setting, and more with doing a story of their own.
What are you gonna do about this? It's already out there. He's already seen it. Sure.
Wait, who's already seen it?
Michael.
Come in.
It's not concerned with being Frank, and it's more focused on being its own story. This isn't to say it doesn't get weird. It definitely does. But the jokes that are in Bald Internet Man tend to be on the wordier side and have something to say with a more cynical tone, kind of like a BoJack Horseman.
We're not gonna talk about Israel today.
In my opinion, Bald Internet Man is a web series with a lot of potential for growth. It's not really there yet. I think they have to get away from the house, but it's a good start to get us into the universe and the characters that exist in it. And now, you're all gonna roll your eyes at me, but I think Bald Internet Man does just as good a job as the Filthy Frank content with being, quote, postmodern as the original videos were. It's not the same, but I think it goes and achieves that theme pretty well. It's cynical, and Dave is his down on this luck, like, caramel man who smokes cigarettes, drinks PBR, and just eats sad pills. Like, Jesus Christ, what do you, like, literally, like BoJack Horseman, I say again. It has a lot of heart and a really good production value. I think, if anything, the writing needs to be improved a little bit. Not all of the jokes really pop when they hit, and they're kind of sparsed out sporadically and not in a good kind of level format for this short form video. Granted, you know, the writing needs work could really be levied at anybody that I'm talking about in this video, even myself, but you know, that's part of being a writer, is like your writing growing and getting better. The last Filthy Frank successor I want to talk about is Lotus, and when I say successor, I mean they're not trying to be Frank.
There's been a notable incline in retardation lately. On a regular basis, from multiple spiritual planes, infected beings follow me around. I have the ability to produce energy that deflects the virus, and when they're low, these creatures torment me, endlessly pestering me until I donate most of my own to help sustain them.
Lotus is her own character in the same universe. She has her own cast of eccentric weirdos, and I guess it's her friends that are filling the roles, but they're all their own characters. They're not copies of the originals. Lotus even goes into public and definitely, I think they live in Hawaii, definitely weirds out some tourists. The whole Lotus channel needs to grow more, that's definitely for certain. There's not a wide breadth of content here, and it's certainly changed since Anything for Views critiqued her channel. Since that happened, the Lotus character is now more of a whimsical kind of feel to it. The music and style is more just kind of whimsical. I know that sounds strange, but if you watch the content, you'll feel it. Lotus is kind of aloof, but definitely still an asshole. She more accurately portrays like the worst best parts of young people vaping and doing drugs and like going and playing Beyblade. At one point, there's this really hilarious bit where, you know, her fans want her to cover the N-word. And she gets transported back to the Wild Wild West, where she plays a tune in honor of Susan Wojcicki post Mumkey Jones's banning on the platform.
I don't mean to preach, but the bitches has strung. I have more to teach, but she had me hung.
A lot of her videos are just really fun and campy and really just hone in on that absurdist humor that I think Filthy Frank got so well. You can tell she doesn't embody the character though, you know, she doesn't really feel like she's acting all the time and she just kind of turns it off at some point. I definitely think that whole acting aspect needs some work, but if anything, it's kind of like watching the early days on Disaster Music, the original proto-Frank, if you will. It took a while to develop who Frank was, and it's really fun and interesting to watch that happen again with a new character that has new things to say. If Lotus does have any glaring issues, it's certainly production quality, and that's definitely a budget issue, but allow me to interject. Lotus, in order to continue filming outside, needs to invest some money in a boom arm and a dead cat, because boy is it windy in Hawaii. It's important to maintain basic filming techniques, so you know, don't film with your back to the sun, so that way you don't get backlit and I can't see what you're doing or what face you're making. Maybe a reflector would help depending on how bright it is. You might be able to get one of those for really cheap, but either a boom arm with the dead cat on it, which means you'll need an extra friend to be a boom operator, or you can just get a shotgun mic, because it's really clear that you're using the mic that's in the camera, and just attach a shotgun mic with a dead cat on it. Those are the fuzzy, I'll put a picture. I think if you make those gear improvements, it's going to make a world of difference in your content, and yeah, there's a bit of a learning ceiling to that. You got a bit to climb if you're going to invest in equipment like that, but it's definitely a good investment. I would know sure as shit if you guys watch my vlog, you know that there's definitely a wind issue in there. But at the end of the day, those are the Filthy Frank successors that are most worth watching. The rest are just edgy kids in their mom's basement that want to say the N-word. So tell me, internet, what do you think of all these Filthy Frank successors? How's it make you feel? Should the Omniverse be touched by the meme gods and be allowed to expand on its lore? Or should that narrative potential be put aside and let to rest, along with Filthy Frank himself? And what do you think about Frank Reborn? Is that really an appropriate way to take the character or not? I'm really conflicted on that. I heard a lot of people saying one thing, but I also want to hear if there's some of you who have something else to say. And I'm sure all of the channels I discussed today would love some advice to really fill these big shoes and this void that we're all feeling in our hearts. Of course, I'll leave a link to all those channels below and all of their wonderful, wonderful work, and I do hope the best for them and for them to only improve. In the meantime, if you'd like to watch me improve on giving opinions on internet culture and people, I have some more videos about that, so make sure to subscribe and hit the bell for more in the future. If you don't get updates from YouTube, you can also always follow me on social media at FPS Diesel, as well as supporting the channel by going down to the link below and buying some merch. We got some FPS Skull merch, some edgy merch, some merch that you'll want to buy. More designs coming soon, and next time I will cover, I don't know, something. It'll be more funny, I guess. I don't know.